Today I want to talk about what I call a false secure attachment style. And by that I mean a person who has an insecure attachment style, but they come across to other people as if they had a secure attachment style. And these people, they are not doing it deliberately, they are not actively trying to fool anybody else, but just by being themselves and by acting from inside their own insecure attachment style, they come across to others as having a secure attachment style. Especially if you are not particularly professional in psychology, this is a typical mistake you might do. If you are very into the therapy discourse, in the attachment discourse, that you want to protect yourself when you are dating, this mistake is sadly quite typical. So, to repeat, this is about a type of person who is not deliberately trying to fool you, but they are, because they have an insecure attachment style, they are giving you an impression that they have a secure attachment style, especially if you are not trained in recognizing attachment styles. And I will use an example. It's a man I met some years ago. And this was a guy who was just a random guy. I met him down here in my local shopping mall area. I just bumped into him 4 or 5 times. I never got the chance to have a proper conversation with him until the last time I met him. He was the generation above me, so he was retired of old age. He was a fairly old man, so let's say 70, in his 70s. So this was not a dating situation. This was not having to do with romance. We were not trying to become friends with each other. This was just a random guy that I met, and we chatted for a couple of minutes, and then the last time I met him, I think it was the last time, I had the chance to have a more proper conversation with him. So I talked with him for about 15-20 minutes, and now it's 3 years ago since I bumped into him, so I have no idea. This was not a friend of mine, this was a stranger, and we had a hyggelig conversation. But he told me during one of these times where we just had this couple of minutes chat, he told me that he had been married, I think he said 5 times. He might have said 4, he might have said 6, but I think it was 5 times. And it was a number of times that, considering his age, was likely, so it was believable that he had been married all those times. But it was at the same time a high number. So in Norway, if people say in Norway that they have been married and divorced 2 times, it's still in normal range. But when you get up to 3 marriages, then people will start to think, there's something about you, I don't know. So when he told me this, that he had been married 5 times and divorced, I was like, there's something going on with this guy. And then I got to have a more proper conversation with him. Not about his marriages, not about anything having to do with his attachment style, not anything like that. But we just bumped into each other again. I sat down next to him and we had this more proper conversation, about 15-20 minutes conversation. And I don't know how we got into the topic, but for some reason we started talking about the school system, and I'm partly an educationalist and I have researched the school system, so for me that was a very interesting topic. But I did not say that to him, so he did not know that. But he was having this opinion about the school system, that he hated the school system and he hated teachers and he hated educationalists and everything that had to do with the school system. And I was just listening to him because to me that's just data. So I'm interested in what people think about the Norwegian school system. So I was just listening and participating in the conversation and found it very hyggelig. And I still think of that as a hyggelig memory in my life. That was a very hyggelig conversation. So this guy, he was not coming on to me. He was not trying to brag. He didn't say that, oh my God, I was such a wonderful student in school. He didn't neither try to get me to feel sympathy or empathy with him. So he didn't say that, oh, I was so bad in school. He didn't say that either. And he was not love bombing me in any kind of way. He wasn't giving me compliments or in any way at all trying to affect me by what he was saying, because he didn't even know that I was an educationalist. He didn't even know what my relationship to the school system was. So he was just voicing an opinion, and he voiced it very clearly with conviction and confidence. So in the moment he was talking, he seemed like he had zero social anxiety. It seemed like he was not insecure in himself at all. He was very in contact with his own experiences, feelings, memories from the days he was a pupil himself. He was in contact with his opinions, and he had thought about this, and he had made up his mind, and this was his opinion about the school system, and nobody could sway him to believe or think anything else. He was an old man, he had a lot of life experience, and this was his opinion. So he looked very in his secure attachment style. Like he was not afraid at all to just speak his mind. And then I noticed why he had been married so many times and divorced as many times. Because when he spoke so clearly, he came across as a person who was fully in touch with his own needs and wants. He came across as a person who had really thought about his opinions before he voiced them. And he came across as a person who could also communicate very clearly to others. And that is attractive. That is very attractive. So I imagine that his ex-wives, when they have met him, they have been thinking, oh, finally a guy who is in touch with his own needs and wants and who can communicate clearly. This is a relief. Oh, I don't have to ask or pry or pressure. This guy is just voicing his opinions and feelings and needs, and finally an easy guy to be in a relationship with. But there was something missing in the conversation we had. Not even once did he stop and ask me what my job was and what my relationship to the school system was. So he was not in any kind of way afraid of offending me. And that was what was missing. Because in Norway, common courtesy in Norway is to be aware of the other person in the room. So a person with actual secure attachment style or fairly secure attachment style, or a person who is at least adhering to the Norwegian courtesy rules, they would look more insecure. They would have said something like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just talking away here, I forgot. to ask you what you do for work. Oh my God, you are a teacher, or you're working in the school system? Oh, and here I am sitting and laying it out there about the school system. I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. This is just my opinion, and I'm not trying to indicate that you are the problem. So a person with actual secure attachment style, they would have had this more kind of trying to sense out who you are. So a person with a more fairly secure attachment style would have been more focused on me. But this guy, he was completely oblivious of me being present in the room. So he was talking with me. We did have an actual conversation, but he seemed completely oblivious to the possibility that he maybe was offending me. And that's what was missing. That he spoke with so little shame that it was clear that he did not worry about how he came across when speaking to me. So I imagine that his ex-wives in the beginning have felt this enormous relief that they finally have met a guy who is able to state his needs and wants, emotions and opinions very clearly to them, so that they don't have to do this so-called emotional labor to kind of drag it out of him. But after a while, they have, I imagine, realized that he is not listening to them at all. That he is fully immersed in his own world, his own opinions, his own emotions and needs, and never ask them about their needs and wants and emotions and opinions. And then the marriage has very quickly broken down. So he was probably not a manipulative person. He was probably not a person who was trying to fool his ex-wives. He was just so very dismissive, avoidantly. So his attachment style, and just let me repeat, I just had this one conversation with him, but together with some other information, I think my guess is fairly correct, but it doesn't matter because I'm not in contact with that guy anyway, so I can't give him any kind of feedback or something. But he probably had a dismissive, avoidant attachment style, and that he was so dismissive, avoidant, that he was constantly in his own world, yes, interacting with other people, so in one way very aware that there was other people there, but in another way completely oblivious of the fact that those people also had opinions and wants and needs and emotions. So we had to actually try to sense them out a bit. Am I offending the other person here? Am I taking care of their emotions too? Am I actually including them? Or am I just sitting here and stating my needs and stating my wants and stating my emotions and stating my opinions? So that's a false, secure attachment style. He spoke to me as if he had known me for 10 years and was securely attached to me, that we had been in a long relationship together, either as family or friends or partners. And he spoke to me as if he was 100% sure that I would not become offended by what he said. So why didn't I become offended about what he said? I am a part of the school system in Norway. I have worked with it. I have researched the school system. I have written articles for teachers and so on. So why didn't I become offended when he spoke so clearly about how he hated everybody in the school system? Because I employed a technique. Because I am used to listening to other people, because I am used to viewing what people say to me as data and not as something having to do with our relationship, us between us, I could listen to him and just think, okay, this guy is giving me data. I don't have to talk with this guy ever again. I am just here in the now, in the moment, listening to a guy giving me data about his experience with the school system and his opinions about the Norwegian school system. So I was employing a technique. And in that technique, I also used transference. I analyzed the transference in the moment. So I noticed when he spoke to me with this confidence and conviction, I noticed that, oh my God, that's attractive. But I also recognized it in me as this transference thingy. So I went to the analytic side of me and I analyzed him, listened to him, giving me data, and I analyzed him. So I was not in that conversation. If I had been in that conversation to actually have a relationship with him, I would very quickly have said that, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like that you are sitting here and telling me that everybody in the school system are assholes. I don't like that. Because I'm in the school system. I'm an educationalist. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. And you're sitting there and telling me that I'm this awful asshole that's not doing anything good for other people? I don't like this. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to talk with you again. But because I could employ a technique, we had a very hyggelig conversation. So, to others, observers, to observe us, we would probably have looked like somebody who was very compatible, because he was sitting there and just being very immersed in his own opinions and just wanting to state his own opinions with no concern for what other people thought about him. And I was sitting there and being very into the conversation. And so to observers, we probably looked like we had a very, very, very hyggelig conversation and that we were perfect for each other if we had been closer in age, of course. So to other people, we would probably have come across as somebody who should be married, who should have a relationship, or at least should be friends, because we had this wonderful, easy-flowing conversation about the school system, and we were so in agreement. And because I was in agreement, I saw his points, as an educationalist, I fully saw his points. So I can also imagine that his ex-wives and him had been told during their relationships that they were so compatible because they had this match. But the only reason why we looked like a match was because he was fully immersed in his opinion and I was employing a technique. I was not in my emotions at all. I was fully employing a technique, an interview technique that I would have used as a researcher. So we were not compatible at all. Okay, so I hope that was a bit enlightening about what false insecure attachment style is. And by that I have also said something about what a secure attachment style looks like. A person with a very insecure attachment style can look like they have a secure attachment style. a person with an actual secure attachment style will be far more concerned about how they come across. They don't want to offend you. They don't want to scare you. So they will say things like, oh, but what are you doing for work? Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. I did not mean. So people with a secure attachment style, they will talk as if they were more insecure. Okay, bye.